Why does it feel like you're drowning in a world that never stops moving? Every notification demands attention. Every algorithm pushes urgency. Every productivity system promises optimization while quietly draining the nervous system. Modern burnout is no longer occasional exhaustion. It has become a permanent psychological climate. People wake up tired, scroll while exhausted, work while emotionally fragmented, rest while feeling guilty for resting. And beneath all of it exists a deeper fear. The fear of falling behind in a world moving too fast to fully process. But 2,500 years ago, the Greek philosopher Heraclitus may have identified the hidden cause of this entire condition. Because according to Heraclitus, suffering begins when human beings resist the fundamental nature of reality itself. And the nature of reality, according to Heraclitus, is flux, constant movement, constant transformation, constant becoming. He famously wrote, "No man ever steps into the same river twice," because both the river and the man are continuously changing. Nothing remains fixed. Not the body, not identity, not emotion, not success, not failure, not civilization itself. Everything flows. And perhaps modern burnout emerges because modern culture trains people to seek permanence inside a universe fundamentally built on change. People desperately attempt to stabilize identities that are naturally evolving. Careers become identities. Social status becomes identity. Online personas become identity. People try to permanently maintain versions of themselves that reality itself is already dissolving. And this creates friction. The ego begins fighting the current of existence itself. This is why burnout often feels heavier than the actual workload. Because exhaustion is not always caused by movement. Sometimes it is caused by resistance to movement. Modern society constantly promotes the illusion that life can eventually become fully controlled, perfectly optimized, perfectly balanced, perfectly secure. But Heraclitus saw stability differently. To him, reality was not static architecture. It was fire, an ever-living fire constantly transforming itself. And fire survives precisely because it moves. The moment fire stops moving, it dies. Perhaps consciousness works similarly. People become psychologically exhausted when their energy stagnates inside repetitive loops disconnected from meaning, transformation, and organic movement. This is why modern productivity culture feels strangely lifeless despite constant activity. The problem is not movement itself. The problem is mechanical movement without inner alignment. People are working endlessly while resisting the reality of change internally. They want certainty inside uncertainty, stillness inside motion, permanent identity inside constant transformation. And the nervous system eventually collapses under this contradiction. Heraclitus believed the universe itself operated through tension, not chaos, not random disorder, but a hidden harmony emerging through opposing forces. He called this underlying order the Logos. The Logos was the deeper intelligence governing reality itself, the hidden pattern inside apparent chaos. To Heraclitus, tension was not a flaw in existence. It was the mechanism that created harmony. He compares this to the bow and the lyre. Both require opposing tension to function. Without tension, the bow cannot fire. Without tension, the lyre cannot create music. And perhaps this completely reframes modern burnout, because many people interpret tension as proof something is wrong. But tension itself is not always the enemy. Meaningless tension destroys people, but meaningful tension generates transformation. Growth itself requires resistance. Muscles strengthen through stress. Identity evolves through challenge. Wisdom emerges through friction. And this is why Heraclitus viewed the upward path and downward path as fundamentally the same road. Failure and progress are not separate realities. They are interconnected movements within the same process of becoming. Modern culture often teaches people to see setbacks as interruptions to life. But Heraclitus would argue that the struggle is life. The friction is part of the current. And burnout intensifies when people psychologically resist every uncomfortable phase instead of moving through it consciously. This is why so many people feel trapped today. Not because life moves too quickly, but because they are trying to emotionally freeze themselves inside a moving universe. The ego wants permanence, but reality is process. The ego wants guarantees, but reality is transformation. And the more tightly consciousness clings to fixed certainty, the more exhausting existence becomes. Heraclitus believed wisdom emerges when the individual aligns themselves with the flow rather than fighting against it constantly. This does not mean becoming passive. It means becoming fluid, adaptable, internally mobile, like water moving around resistance rather than shattering itself against it. This changes the nature of work entirely. The person stops treating life as a rigid ladder leading toward some future point where fulfillment finally begins. Instead, life becomes movement itself. The present moment stops becoming an obstacle to escape, and movement stops feeling like punishment. This is where Heraclitus's concept of fire becomes deeply symbolic. The soul itself becomes an ever-living fire capable of transforming experience into energy rather than exhaustion. Burnout begins transforming when resistance weakens, when identity becomes less rigid, when the nervous system stops demanding certainty from an uncertain world. This is why radical acceptance becomes psychologically powerful, not passive surrender, but conscious cooperation with reality itself. People waste enormous amounts of energy resisting what already exists, resisting change, resisting endings, resisting uncertainty, resisting emotional movement. But the more reality is resisted internally, the more friction accumulates psychologically, and eventually the flame suffocates itself. Heraclitus teaches something radically different. Stillness is not found outside movement. Stillness is found within movement. The river never stops flowing, but consciousness can stop fighting the river. And perhaps this is the hidden antidote to modern burnout culture. Not escaping life, not optimizing yourself into machinery, not endlessly chasing productivity systems, but learning how to move fluidly within reality without demanding that reality becomes psychologically frozen first. This requires dissolving rigid identity structures, letting thought move, letting emotion move, letting life move. Because the moment consciousness stops trying to preserve every temporary form, energy begins flowing again. And strangely, this creates a deeper kind of stability. Not the stability of permanence, but the stability of adaptability. The person becomes resilient because they are no longer demanding that existence stop changing. They become psychologically lighter, more fluid, more alive. And perhaps this is what Heraclitus truly meant by aligning with the Logos. Not controlling reality, not escaping tension, but becoming conscious enough to recognize the hidden harmony inside perpetual transformation itself. The modern world tries to freeze human beings into algorithms, but life is not an algorithm. It is a river. And maybe burnout begins healing the moment you stop trying to stand still inside a universe built entirely from movement. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and have a wonderful day.